Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and yeah, I'm a couple minutes late this morning. A little bit frazzled, just trying to get things together. Good morning, Alex. Yeah, I was going to say I'm running a couple minutes late today. My fringe I trimmed it yesterday, and it's a bit uncooperative this morning in terms of how it's laying. I just keep messing with it because it's curly. So I mean, you wouldn't know it's curly just from looking at it right here, but it is, and it doesn't. For some reason, might be the camera angle too. It just doesn't quite go right. Anyway, I don't need to be fussing with it. Good morning, and I hope your morning is off to a good start. It's a very, very strange kind of a day here. I did not sleep very well last night, and there was a whole lot of stuff. Good morning, Joanne. A whole lot of stuff going on last night where I was just very. It's really weird. Okay, first of all, I woke up at midnight, a little after midnight. Good morning, Pat. I woke up a little after midnight, and I think it was actually like 12:12. It was something like that. I just had to get up and go over, use the facilities, whatever. And I looked out the window, and I, just kind of looking out to see. It was like partly cloudy, and there was some clouds, some stars, that kind of thing. And then I had I went back to bed. Oh, good morning, Jenny. And I went back to bed, and I heard my neighbor's car start up across the street, and I heard him leave. Now, I know he is somebody who works night shifts. I think he works in like Jersey City, and he's he's had a job. I mean, I think he's been trying to get out of there and work more out this way, but I don't think that worked out for him. I mean, I talk to him only very occasionally, so I don't really know what's going on. But generally, only if the two of us are outside. That's when I talk to him. If he sees me out working out front or something, I'll be like, "Oh, hey," But he left at 12. Like it was like 12:30 last night, and I was kind of weirded out by that a little bit because I know normally he might leave at like at 10 because I know if he has like a dispatcher's job, doing taxis or something, like he might be out doing something like that. But I'm like, that's really late for him to leave. And the reason that kind of weirded me out was because there's like a whole, this is going to be this is going to be almost like a pre-spooky season live stream, okay? Because there's just, there's been a lot of weird stuff kind of going on around these houses. And I mean, as we move towards the autumn equinox, I mean, technically this sounds more like stuff for Samhain or for Halloween, right? But it was... But when he left, I was like, I wonder if he's leaving because something in the house has freaked him out. Now, I'll tell you a little story about the house across the street. The house across the street used to be owned by a family. I think my one neighbor referred to them as the Perrine family. It's not exactly the way I would have pronounced it. Good morning, Melissa. It's not the way I would pronounce that name, but it was. But okay. There was a family where there was I don't know. I mean, there was a husband and wife, and they had 3 children. Right? They had two boys and a girl, I think, and they were roughly around 6, 8, and 9, like in that ballpark. And this was 1968, and I heard about it because my neighbor was alive at the time that this happened, and he told me about it. And also, apparently, it made the New York Times at that point as well. But there was a divorce between the two of them, and apparently he was an incredibly abusive person. And this is the time when Hampton used to have bars. We don't have bars anymore. Like the one at the end of the street that used to be a restaurant bar, the woman who owned it, who lives next door to it still, unfortunately for her, because the whole building is kind of dilapidated now, but... they'd sold the liquor license because it was very, very expensive on the actual place. So it was hard to sell it again as a restaurant because of that. But in any case, there used to be a bar, and this guy apparently, and of course we're America, so we got guns. And I guess he got drunk and got very, very angry and decided to come storming down the street to the house, which was his house. I guess he had moved out, and the wife wasn't there. She had actually, I think, gone out, and it was her mother staying with the 3 kids, babysitting the 3 kids. And he basically went into the house, shot all of them, and then himself. He had the grandmother survived, and she only got like hit in the arm or something, and she went screaming across the properties. That's what my neighbor said he remembered as a kid. She ran across all the backyards because there used to be a train on this side. She ran across that whole front to the closest bar so that she could use the phone, because in the 60s there were no telephones out here. This was it's probably still like a party line set up. I remember my father had that years ago. Yeah, I know, it was a horrible thing. And actually, I remember when I used to talk to my neighbor next door, she had told me, oh yeah, there's another cemetery down the road. We have like 5 churches in Hampton too, which is extraordinarily weird. And some of them are Presbyterian, some of them are, the Catholic Church is right over here. And I'm not sure what the other ones. One that used to be a church has a cemetery, and now it's been converted into apartments or something. Because and I'm like, boy, that must be a cool thing. You're out in your backyard and there's a cemetery there. But my neighbor had told me, she says, oh yeah, they're buried behind my grandmother's grave. Her grandmother's last name was Morgan. And so I went and I found the grave of these 3 children, 6, 8, and 9. And you can see them. They used to have the pictures, but the pictures kind of faded out with time, which is kind of a weird, it's kind of a weird thing to put on the graves. It wasn't put on in a way that they actually, the weather eventually destroyed the pictures. But, yeah, and the names of the 3 kids. So I have seen the grave. I have a picture of it somewhere. And it was just, but I remember the guy who used to live in that house when I moved in, he knocked on my door once and he asked me if I knew anything about anything going on in that house. And at that time, I didn't even know that story. I was like, dude, you've lived here longer than I have. Like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about what's going on. But apparently, he had a son, and his son didn't want to sleep in the house because he said there were kids that would stand at the end of his bed at night, And his father claimed to get up to go in the kitchen in the morning, and there would be somebody standing in the kitchen, so there seems to be some, whether that's residual, whatever that is still in that house. And when Charlie moved in, of course, my neighbor across the street first of all, the realtor should have told him. Okay, the house was very cheap at that point, but it was mainly because they didn't, I think it might have been a foreclosure or something, and from the previous guy. So I'm not really quite sure what happened there, but he eventually bought it kind of cheap. And I think there was kind of he was assuming he was going to like fix up this house. I know his father was alive then, and my neighbor's from Egypt, and I think he's Coptic. He's a Coptic Christian. So, and he was the one who I told you when I came back, when I was there, I was doing Rouhani. He had just gotten back from Egypt, and he says, oh, I have a present for you. And he had brought me back this kind of tin type of the Virgin Mary and a couple of other things too, because he had been to the Holy Family Sepulchre in Egypt. And, which was clearly a big thing to him. And I think because he knows that I teach, I was right? He knows that I teach religion, so I think he thought like, oh, I would appreciate this. And, that's fine. It was definitely a thoughtful, like well-intended gift, neighborly kind of gift. And I do have the tintype up in the room where I do my healing work, and people do seem to like it in there. So, that's fine. It's something special. It's something from Egypt, And so it's very, seeing, and I remember when my neighbor told him about the story of that house, he says, oh, we do not believe in any of those things. So in other words, he's saying, well, no, my faith tells me that those things, that there are no such things as ghosts, that those things don't happen. And you do hear this a lot. And people often find that interesting, especially with some of the more ancient Christian faiths that are not Protestant. Because there's a lot of varieties of Protestantism that, for example, don't deal with demons, for example. The Catholic Church is when we think about exorcism and stuff, we always think about the Catholic Church. Now, this is not a case for an exorcism, but you would think that if there's this belief that demons could possess somebody, that you probably would also get the idea of that, that souls could potentially be lost or hang around, and of course that's not part of the doctrine. So, anyway, the theology of death is a really interesting thing. Not only is what people would expect it to be. So, in any case, I'm wondering, though, I know like sometimes he goes to work late and then comes back in the morning, but I feel almost like, and sometimes I've seen where he's had every light in the house on all night. So I'm like wondering, is something going on over there? I have a feeling if I asked him, he would deny it. He'd be like, oh, no, there's nothing, I'm sure he would not tell me, because I feel like he would not want to admit that that's a possibility. I could be wrong. But in any case, that was really interesting. I had an interesting thing happen yesterday. I did a live stream yesterday on Cattonia. I don't know if anybody here managed to join me for that one, but I did it at noon because I try to do a noon live stream on Mondays. And that one was like kind of referring back to a podcast I'd done on an Irish figure called the Diargadua. And that led to a conversation with Patricia Weston. She sometimes shows up on here, Patricia Weston Witch. And she's somebody who I met in Ireland, actually. I actually had a reading with her in Ireland at her house in Skerries. And which is right. It's along this stretch of road in Ireland that's really interesting because it has... I had a dream while I was in Ireland about that stretch of road that she's on. It's not in her town per se, but it's like I was living in Drogheda, and after Drogheda was a town called Gormanston or Ballymacgorman, and then after that is Balbriggan, and then then Skerries and some of the other towns are to the south of that, heading towards Dublin, and but it's a long stretch of beach, and it's along the Irish Sea. So I had had a dream of the Morrigan, where she had said to me, because I was there researching this book that I have no idea if it's ever going to come out. On request, I actually checked the Theon website the other day, and they haven't posted any updates since February, and they haven't put out any books this year, so I don't really know what's going on. I have not been really talking to them. Well, there's reasons, but not like, it's not like we don't still have a business arrangement or whatever, but I haven't, certain people I haven't been communicating with. But I could reach out to Jessica Grota and find out what's going on. But while I was there working on this book, I had a dream of the Morrigan, and she said to me, there goes a buck, a deer. I haven't seen anything from that publisher in a while either. Yeah, there has not been anything this year, and there was supposed to be a book on Lilith coming out at the end of last year. And then there was supposed to be, I think there's an essay from Harper Feistus, but it was supposed to come out in April. And then I know David Beth had written his own book, and that was supposed to come out somewhere in the mix. And my book was supposed to be kind of next after that, or at least in the mix of that. And another one, I forget what the other one was. But there was at least 4 or 5 books on the agenda. And I know that Jessica had been doing some editing on them back in the spring. And nothing has come out, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know why that is. And I just hope for their sake that it's not that they're having financial difficulties or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Nobody said that, and I don't want to spread any rumors that aren't true because I don't know that. But I don't know what's going on. But it's not just me that's affected. It's a lot of other authors who have not had their stuff come out yet. So anyway, it was, but the Morrigan, I had a dream of her when I was living in Drogheda, and she said, go dig for bones in Balbriggan, is basically what she said. Now, Balbriggan, if anybody knows anything about it, I remember going down and asking my landlady, I guess you could call her that. She's also a friend now. She's really great. I said, Lorna, is there anything about Balbriggan? Are there any tombs or anything there? And she's like, no, it's just a town where commuters, it's a cheap place to live if you're gonna get on the train to Dublin every day if you're a commuter, So what happens to your book? That's terrible. I don't actually know, I don't know, Joanne, what's actually going on. I have no idea. I have to find out. I don't want to spread any false rumors that anything bad's happened because I don't know that anything bad's happened. Maybe they just decided, maybe they're both just tired and are taking their time. Jessica and David are probably tired, maybe not putting things out. I don't know. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to start people saying, "Oh, Brigid said that they did this or they did that." It's not that. Good morning, Suda. So I just don't know. That's just the bottom line. But it is clear that nothing has come out this year that seemed to be on the list. So I'm sure there's a story about it, but I haven't seen any public anything on public record. So yeah. Well, let people know. That's weird. Yeah, it is weird. Good morning. Good morning. So anyway, the Morrigan, I got that dream, and then when I asked Lorna, she's like, I don't know anything about Balbriggan. So I went and I got a map. I looked at the map, and I noticed that there is a passage tomb that was between Balbriggan, and Gormanston, along the beach. And it was very old. It was a Mesolithic tomb, actually, older than the Neolithic. Maybe not by a lot, but it's considered to be Mesolithic. And I'm trying to remember the name of the tomb now. I know that the name of it had to do with the fact that it was up high. It was an Irish word for height, and I can't remember what it is now. but I had been, but I ended up talking to, she introduced me to this guy called Munich Smith. He goes by Munich. I think his name is like Michael or something, but he goes by Munich. And he introduced me to a historian who from Drada. They both met, I met Munich on the train, and then we both got off at Gormanston and walked down to the beach. And when we met, gosh, why can't I think of the name? I can see the guy's face really clearly, the name of the historian. I have it in my notes on my Morrigan presentation because I did talk about him. Well, Brendan, I think it's Brendan something. Anyway, he met us, and Munich said, oh yeah, so she's thinking that there's this, we're going to go see, it was the Braymore tomb, that was it, the Braymore Passage tomb. Want to go see Braymore, and he says, oh, well, you realize along this beach there's at least 7 other tombs. And so there were tombs, we were literally standing in a whole complex of Mesolithic tombs. And it's bizarre. Look, the whole landscape there looks like something out of Lovecraft. It's amazing in that section. Well, yeah, there were 7. And he pointed, he goes, there's one was actually like in the ocean, where the waves were coming up, you could actually see the curbstones on the top. And he says, oh, and there's one up on that cliff, and there's one in that field, but the farmer doesn't let anybody go there. And then there's one that's here, and he was kind of just pointing, and Munich was like, I didn't know that. And and Munich actually does something called the Underworld Ireland Tour or something. Like, he actually takes people on all these hikes. And I'm glad I went with the 2 of them to this tomb, because it was a very weird and difficult hike, and I wouldn't have found the tomb on my own. And it was kind of overgrown. So they had taken me there. But that was yeah, wow, that was fascinating. In any case, I don't want to derail too much into the Ireland stories, but Patricia Weston and I got in kind of conversation after I did the live stream yesterday on Catonia. And while I was doing the Catonia live stream, which is on ancestral stuff, it's kind of on the idea of ancestral lines and immortality and how one gains immortality. I was talking a little bit about that over there, and also about how this one particular vampire legend seemed to be connected to sovereignty. Like, it's most of the time you have a vampire legend where, I don't know, either somebody dies and is bitten and is infected by a vampire, right? I mean, that's the kind of Dracula kind of idea that we have in the West, but it was Takes from the Emerald Isle podcast. Yeah, it was, and actually Patricia said she had never actually heard the story of the Diargadú, which is from Waterford. And she says, I didn't even know about this story. She's like, so I sent her the link to it after I had spoken to her, after we kind of had a conversation. And it was interesting because she had just said, she was really weird because I just had somebody, because she lives in Ireland, obviously, as I was saying earlier, and she had said, yeah, they had a conversation about sovereignty, and she said, it's just so weird that you're bringing it up. But the interesting thing about that particular vampire was that it was a girl who, she was a very beautiful girl who was supposed to be, she had many suitors, but she was in love with like a man who was below her station, really. Like, they called him a peasant, but he was, she was somebody of a more aristocratic family. But her father would not let her even think about marrying him. Of course, he marries her off to the highest bidder, which is kind of the way those marriages tend to work. And when he does this, he ends up marrying her to this much older man, older than himself even, who's very, very cruel to her. So she starves herself to death. That's how she takes her sovereignty back, as she starves herself to death. And because of the type of death that is, that's considered to be like a self-harm type death, that there's a lot of stories around that when they buried her, it was like they buried her under something called the strongbow tree in Waterford. And the idea was that you had to put stones on top of it, I guess, so the body wouldn't rise. Because the assumption was that was an unfortunate type of death. But they don't put stones on it for some reason, and she comes back, she kills her father, and she kills the husband. Basically drains them of their life and then of their blood, because so she comes back, and they said she comes back on the anniversary of the death, and the men in the town have to watch out, So that's the legend. But I just thought it was a very interesting legend because Ireland has such a strong background of female sovereignty and females granting sovereignty. So this is a tale of a female who does not grant sovereignty. In fact, it's like somebody else takes her sovereignty or makes a decision about it and abuses it, which is another type of tale in Ireland that usually brings curses. So anyway, I was talking about this, and literally the podcast, what I was saying is literally not even the point of what I was going to just say about this. I feel like it's like a really long, meandering detour. But what I was going to say was that I had, while I was doing it, I was, of course, like I am now, I'm looking at you on camera. I literally saw something go over my head, like something like, and I didn't stop. I didn't take note of it, but I think I kind of slowed down in what I was saying because I was like, well, what just went by my head? And, I wasn't quite sure if it was a trick of the light or something. I really wasn't sure what that was. And actually, those of you who are taking my intuitive development class, if you remember when I did the auras and I showed you the picture that I took, that kind of white image I basically took my iPhone and was photographing some of the aura photos that had been taken of me over the years. And the one got that wispy kind of white thing that kind of went across my part of my face. And it kind of looked a bit like that. And so I was like, well, what? And then when I went back and I watched the video, I watched the recording of the live stream back. At that exact point, there's static that suddenly comes across my head in the video. It's like, whoa. I was like, okay, And when I had a client to my house, I think I mentioned the other day, maybe I only mentioned it to the intuitive development class, but she was, she always has very weird visions when she does Rouhani in my house. And she had told me that she had seen a man outside, like she's a really old man, like, with the overall kind of what in England they would call braces, what we call suspenders here. Yeah, interesting. And he had paper bags. And now the thing is, I was working on her, and I could hear the rustling of paper bags. Now I have like a little mouse or a little chipmunk or squirrel that manages to somehow get in under the thing and get into my closet. So I will hear this kind of rustling in my closet, and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to set traps in there again, for the mice or whatever, because this is getting to be the time of year where it's chilly, so they are like, oh, we're gonna come inside. I already had one squirrel steal a lot of the insulation from my basement. That's another story, but she saw this man, and she said he was coming up to the one window, like people who know my house know there's a door and there's window on either side. It was the window on this side, which is, my right. It would be the left window from the front. And he was like doing something underneath that window. She's like, there was like a door there. She says, was there ever a door there? I'm like, don't know. I haven't a clue. But I did kind of get the sense that this was kind of a residual thing that was appearing. In any case, the reason I'm bringing up all these little ghost stories is because I've just been seeing things like every morning before I do the live stream, I look out and there's something out in the yard. I'm like, is it just that because I'm doing more with this kind of stuff that I'm seeing more stuff, or is it just becoming more active? And it made me think a little bit about intuitive development. Oh yeah, it's I know it's really cute, of course, and you're realizing they're gonna have like nests made out of fiberglass, and I don't know how good that is for the environment or anything else, because they don't know. They're just like, hey, this looks like a fluffy material, and you can get those little splinters from handling insulation. So I had to rip a whole lot out of my basement. I still have more to rip out that they've, peed in and stuff. It's I mean, they're cute, but it's super annoying as a homeowner. And I don't want to lay traps out there that are going to be really cruel to them. I know they're just trying to keep warm or build their nests or whatever. So anyway, but it's just really weird. It's interesting because the time you bring this up, because I walk my dog every morning around 5, see many wispy dark shadows in the neighborhood, today included. Yeah, it's almost like there's some kind of layer. I know it sounds odd, but it's almost like there's a layer of vision, and it's something we would associate with Samhain or Halloween, because that's usually when the veil thins, right? And this is a few weeks early for the veil to thin. I realize that the autumn season we're getting into towards winter and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so you're seeing that too, and you're in, this isn't the norm for me. Yeah, and that's just it. And you're probably at least 1,500 miles away from here. So it's really strange. She says, Chipmunk ate, Joanne was saying, mother ate my entire wiring harness on her car, because her wires were made of soy fiber. Oh, there you go. So all of your environmentally safe wiring thing is just going to attract animals who are hungry. That's really, it's funny, not funny. You know what I mean? You really don't need animals eating the wiring in your car. I have had ones make a nest in behind my my air filter in my car, and I've gone to the shop and they're like, there's all these like leaves and stuff, like a little chipmunk or something got in your car and made a little nest. So can we take that out? I was like, yes, please. It's like, do you have to ask me that? But I guess it's better that they ask, right? But yeah, there's something odd, and it's funny because Jenny, I know Jenny's on here too. Ironic, your cost her thousands to fix. Oh, yeah, that's the horrible part right there. I know Jenny's been on here this morning, and I know, oh, we're doing a presentation tonight. I see Jenny's on, Melissa's on, and we're all going to be doing a presentation at Mount Olive Library tonight. And I did get a text from Jenny this morning about a couple of the slides. And that's something I'm sure we can fix before, we'll look at it this morning, unless you've managed to fix it, but we can fix it this morning. Anyway, it was, so I'll be doing that tonight. But it's just weird because I know Jenny recently in our conversations has said, that there's been some weird energy. Could it be all those portals opening on 9/9, etc.? Possibly. Although we have had portal openings, we've had the 8/8 portal, we've had different ones, and I mean that's brought different kinds of energy. But the energy with this one is just really, really strange, and I just feel, like I said, my Azrael messages of this morning had to do with visits, of that are coming as we get closer to the eclipse. And so, and that was not, I did not ask him about this. That's just what he said. You were thinking the same thing. Yeah, it could be. I haven't studied a whole lot about what's going on with the 9/9 portal, which was yesterday. It's fixed. The world change was authentic. Okay. Oh, you'll send soon. So, okay. There seems to be, if that is what is being, other people are testifying to that kind of thing happening. I'm just going to add my 2 cents and say it sure as heck seems to be happening because, again, this isn't something that's very typical for me. I mean, again, I do sometimes see things, but it's not, yes, energies, there is energies thinking the same thing here. Yeah, and you're up in Canada. So, yeah, there's just something very strange that's kind of going on. And I'm finishing up readings. By the way, those who are looking for the Aries through Virgo readings, those will be up today. I just have, yesterday I was trying to catch up on emails, messages that I owed people, stuff that, forms I meant to send people, things that I've just been trying to get through. And today I got a few more things to settle. So I did most of the readings yesterday, but I still have 2 more that I have to do. And I'm going to do those this morning and get all those videos up. They're all ready to go. I just need to finish and then they'll be up. So, but in all the readings that I've been doing for Aries through Virgo, and actually even last week with Libra through Pisces, it was showing this was a time frame where it's almost like a time when secrets are going to be revealed. It's like a time when, or where we have to wait and see because I don't know, like our awareness is going to be different about things. And so I don't know. So it's just really interesting to me that that's kind of what's been going on, or at least that's how, at least one way that seems to be manifesting. And what that's going to mean in the broader scheme of things, it will be interesting to see. Yes, exactly. More to come. Yeah, and the eclipses are definitely part of that equation here. Actually, I'm kind of getting into my head. I want to start with these guys, which I know are the favorites of some. Pat, I'm wondering if you actually got yours because I know you had said you had ordered this deck. You'd managed to find it, and this is a deck that's very hard to get. And by the way, Patricia Weston's the only other person I know who's a public reader who actually uses this, besides me. She had it. I remember when I went to her house and she pulled it out. I'm like, oh my God, you have cartouche. Like, nobody else has cartouche. Well, I mean, not nobody, but not nobody. That's really poor English. But anyway, yeah. So you have 2 now. You ordered 2? Oh, wow. So you're like, well, you know what? It's good to have 2 because when all right, 2 seconds. This is what my first one looks like. So sometimes it's good to have the second. I love this deck. I've never seen it before. Yeah, it's been out of print for a long time. And but it's the first deck I learned on in 1987. So yeah, so this is a favorite. I've had three cartouche decks over the years, but now when people try to find it, you have to find it on eBay or people selling it for like a couple $100. I mean, it's expensive to find it. So that's why when Pat found it, I was like, ooh, you found it. Yeah, so sometimes it's good to have 2 if you think you're going to use it a lot. Even this one, you're starting to see, like, I'm getting the wear on the side, and this is my newest one. So, okay, this might have been the one that my sister gave me. In any case, so let me think. Okay, so let's talk about the messages for today for people on the live stream. What's coming up here? Cartouche is pretty. Yes, it is. It's a really nice, I mean, there's a lot of Egyptian decks out there. I'm not sure, like, when they do the kinds of things where they have, like, the flails and the lotuses and all that stuff. I mean, it's okay. I don't resonate as much with those. I like this one because it's a lot simpler, and I don't know. I just find that this is a deck that when I use it, and you love Anubis. Yeah, oh, well, he's in here. Where is he? Here we go. Yeah, there he is. Okay, so there's your little Anubis card. He's kind of sitting. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Now, in our reading today, yeah, we're talking about changes here. We have Scarab as our first card. Okay, so Scarab has to do with change and shifting and things that are shifting and changing. And you've got Thoth. Okay, so yeah. This is definitely big transformational shifts when these two come up together. Thoth is indicating, Thoth has a lot to do with divine timing. It has to do with things it's kind of spiritual things and changes that are happening. But this is the ultimate card of change. This is actually, Scarab is actually almost like the death card in Cartouche, in the way that it functions. I mean, it can mean something as simple as, like, you know, redecorate your house, like, you know, if it shows up in the fourth house. I mean, it doesn't have to be like the regular death card. It can just indicate that something is changing. But with these two together, this is a major change, okay? And yeah, and with water's our factor here. And water has to do with, again, this is the flow of the emotions, and this is the flow of intuition. So it's the what we think of as associated with water astrologically, which is and those who are in water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, tend to be very intuitive, right? They tend to be, if you're talking scorpionic energy of the 8th house, that's very intensely deep. It's like something deep is being revealed. And in fact, I did see that on Cancer's reading. Look deeper, look deeper, look deeper. Like, we're getting shown something that's deeper here. There's something deeper that's going on. And water does indicate movement. So things that have been stuck become unstuck when water appears. Okay, but a very, very strongly emotional and very feminine card in the way that it operates. And it says things are on the move, basically, that things are on the move. And then we have Isis, okay? Now, Isis, in this deck, it tends to have a strong association with motherhood. But Isis can also be kind of, again, have kind of the element of the high priestess. There's something magical. It has to do with something that's a little more mysterious. And often it's something where we need to display a certain level of patience to see certain things. So yeah, so Isis is basically saying, Isis has to do with the heart opening too. You know, a lot of people here who have done Rahani with me, it's like, yeah, this is about opening that space. Oh wow, I'm chilly. And then the outcome is the wing disc, okay? The wing disc is the sun disc. It's interesting. This actually probably would be the Rahani symbol, weirdly enough, like in this deck. But wing disc is actually about the what you call it? This is about, first of all, it's about success, achievement, and about clarity. Okay, funny story. I found my High Priestess card in an unexpected place and not with the rest of my deck yesterday. That happened to me once with an Emperor card. Yeah, that's interesting. So there you go. There's a message. And I know, yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think a lot of people on this feed are also working either with me or independently on intuitive development kind of stuff. And it's interesting that you're all kind of having this. So yeah, there's a synchronicity for you. That's a big synchronicity. Like, because the High Priestess is, yeah, there's a mystery about to be revealed here. That's kind of the message I'm getting. That's also the message I've been getting from Azrael. So yeah, there's some definite big shift that's going on here, and it's just interesting to talk to everybody on here and see that's happening. So let's see what our regular deck has to say today. But yeah, whatever it is though, I mean, the fact that I see wing disc as the outcome, I think is really good, because wing disc, whatever crises we've been through, whatever difficulties we're having, wing disc says it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to be solved. It's going to be clear. It's like having the sun as the outcome. You know, it's like there's going to be light shed on the situation. And the thing is, though, with light being shed on the situation, it also thinks things become clearer, clearer, and clearer. Well, Thoth, all that's hidden shall be revealed. Yeah, and in this particular deck, Thoth has a lot to do with spiritual healing, and it has to do with what we often call karma. Again, that's a kind of an Eastern concept that's kind of often overlaid onto Egyptian concepts, but it's just basically it's the similar idea of just, I don't know, just things that are happening that are not necessarily within our control. The timing of stuff that's not within our control, because Thoth also tends to be the Lord that's of time, connected with time in that way. So let's see. Okay, so what else do we need to know here? I also had dreams 3 nights in a row of a wolf circling around my house, which was interesting. Although I don't see that as a negative dream. I don't think the wolf is there to be. I didn't feel like it was like the wolf was a threat. Let's put it that way. Oh wow! And we start with the Sun card in this one, which is the Innocence card. Okay, this is see the old man with the little. Looks like it's either a little mantis or a grasshopper. I'm not sure what he's holding in his hand, but he's got this little green guy. And teacher, yeah. And but this is the card of innocence. What this card is saying, this is the old man acting with the wonder of a child. So it's almost like being able to see things with fresh eyes, and really maybe being able to see things with the eyes of a child. Now, if we think about that, who are the ones who tend to be the most open in terms of receiving things? Kids, right? Kids, you know, if we talk about kids and their imaginary friends and things, and some people will say, oh, well, you know, that's just kids, that's just their development, they're playing. And maybe, in some cases. In other cases, though, I always feel the kids have a level of perception that goes away the more that their rationality takes over. So this is almost like going back to that childlike perception of things in that way. Not because you're imagining things and you're delusional, it's not that kind of an energy. It's you're starting to see more of what might be there. Yeah, because you got new vision is what we have in the internal, right? Being able to see everything in the heights and then in the depths. This is actually the Hanged Man card, but they're not jaded by culture. No, they're not jaded by... now it's funny because I'm a teacher, but it's funny like thinking in the educational system that I work in. Sorry, society. Yeah, no, but you know what? Society, while it's understood that we have certain structures and certain rules, there is a lot about socialization that can ruin that aspect of us. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the shift that we're going to have, is that now we're going to maybe have something that incorporates this a little bit more rather than shutting it down with the way that our educational systems work. I feel like a lot about our educational systems are broken right now anyway, and there may be just a new way of doing things. So this is about new vision. And the external feeling, though, of which we are aware is a perfect clarity of vision. We have the consciousness card. Okay, this is the Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords came up with Gemini's reading. Gemini had like 3 aces in their reading, and it was like, yeah, there's this an absolute clarity of things. But this is also a new beginning, don't forget. Aces are new starts, messages that are coming in, absolutely clear messages. So it's almost like you're able to see things as, you're starting more to see more of things as they are, okay? Now you have the Stars card. This is the star in this deck. It's called Silence. And this is just saying, and that's literally the message I've been getting in all these readings. Just observe. Just watch things unfold. Because the Star card, and actually the Cancer reading had Star at the center. Let's not go there. My whole undergraduate education, my master's is in psych now. Well, yeah, but you have an awareness of what the situation is. And like I said, I've worked in education for years. And I'm starting a school. Or I've started a school, I should say. And which will be having its opening day on the solar eclipse. And Joanne, you and I are going to be talking about that on Thursday on Joanne's podcast, Inside the Sacred Circle, which is great. I'm going to post the info. I'm sure you're posting it on yours, and I'm going to post it as well. I posted it on Facebook, but I need to post it here on Instagram as well if people want to join that. People who are here in the U.S., I have a few people in the U.K. who are interested, and I'm like, well, it's probably going to be like 11:30 to 1:30 your time. Hopefully more follow suit. Yeah, and I'm hoping that people do sign up for the school, because right now it's out there. People seem to be interested, but like a lot of things, people haven't made any kind of decision on it right now. Maybe people, there's yes, and I have to do Insta and Gym. Yeah, it's so I'm hoping that we get a lot of people who you did YouTube already. Okay, so we'll see. But in any case, possibilities. The Star card is definitely showing us that beginning point. Okay, where Star shows up, we're at that. This is the card that shows up after the Tower in the deck, right? Star has to do with where we have hope, where we have new possibility. So the fact that we have the star right under the sun is, this is actually a really good reading. It's a good omen. And one thing that Azrael has been saying to me over the last few days is he said you're still going to be hearing messages, maybe even from other from psychics or mediums that are divided messages. And he said, don't listen to those divided messages. This is all going to shift. It's just right now, the old energy that's been pushed out is still closest to this earth plane, because I've explained all that stuff about Metatron and everything, and I've talked about that, so I won't talk about it again. But he said that narrative is still, it's still here, like kind of like the angels that have kind of fled the one thing are still, the narrative is still being kind of provoked here, which is kind of that Pluto retro and Capricorn energy, right? He says, but that's clearing out now. And our outcome is another ace, the Ace of Pentacles, maturity card, okay? So now we've got the ace. So yeah, this is really, really fascinating, because it's saying that, we've kind of reached this point of, this is completely a card of the new beginning of being able to finally see things as they really are. And that's what's so interesting. It's interesting that people are seeing these kinds of things, because what it means, whatever else it means, whatever else these things are that we see, whether they are memories on an environment, whether they actually represent some kind of a spirit or force, whatever they are, they represent an opening up of intuition, an opening up of the feminine. Okay, Lee Harris was just saying that in his September energy report. Yeah, it's that's part of opening to the feminine, because that means that you are not just seeing through the 3D eyes of rationality. You're seeing a bigger picture, and that's part of the shift that is going on. So so energetically, it's very, very interesting what's going on right now. But this morning, I ended up, I think around 3 o'clock, I finally did some Rahani, and I did fall asleep for a couple of hours. And I think I fell asleep during the Rahani too, so I had to remember to wake up and close it down. But that was kind of the idea, because I was just so restless last night, and I'm like, all right, I need to get my energy back in alignment, because I was just like kind of all over the place. So so it's interesting. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. This is a little weird kind of side trip, but I hope it was interesting. And I'll be interested to hear as we go forward if more people are still continuing to see or experience more things like this. I find it very interesting. That's something I've been intrigued by my whole life. Your dreams are wild lately. Yeah, that too. And you're welcome. Oh, and Sam, you just joined. Oh, okay. Hello. And we're about to close out. That was just a weird, good side trip. Relatable. Like, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's and so. Yep, and I will see Jenny and Melissa tonight for sure. And like I said, if you happen to be in New Jersey, which I don't think too many people on here are, but it's, we're going to be at Mount Olive Public Library tonight, 6 o'clock, I think. You woke up late. Oh, okay, well, that's okay. The recording will be here. And if you want to kind of backtrack and go over the territory that we had. I'll be interested to hear how things are changing for people over the week. You're welcome, and guys, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.